Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crow's nest. Oh, I guess I shouldn't have done an air horn. I should have been like a caw, caw, but
That would have been excellent. Yeah.
yeah, that's whatever. We'll get better at this as we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have two of the most interesting human beings on the planet, Jessica Adam Anderson. Here we go. We're going to be talking about sales enablement and cybersecurity and all the things that the crow's nest is about, which is, hey, how do we make your life as a salesperson better? Jess is a salesperson. Jess does a bunch of stuff, and so you're going to hear a conversation between two world-class salespeople, and we're going to explore a bunch of stuff. Jessica, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, a lot of you know me already. My name is Jess. I started off working at Channel Falcons. A lot of you guys may know what it is, Scopy now. Mm-hmm. And now I've been branching off into my own marketing business, and I've gotten to work with really cool people. And so I thought this would be an interesting opportunity to get to hear from the greatest salesman I've ever met, Adam. And he's going to talk about...
I'm sorry, you broke up. Can you say that one more time?
We're glad he's humble. We're really happy that Adam's very humble.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it'd be interesting as a marketing perspective to hear a little bit about him talking all things sales from somebody who personally does not have a lot of experience in it. And I want to hear a little bit about what he thinks about it. And so he has something called the sales methodology that we're going to talk about. And I have a few questions to ask him. So
perfect. Well, let's get into it, and we'll go back and forth. We are not going to edit this at all. So if I say bad words or we, for some reason need to do a backflip, we'll just do that. So
we love it. We love the raw clips.
Let's do it.
Bloopers. So Adam, I have a few questions for you. We've talked a little bit already outside of this,
mm-hmm.
and then we came up with the idea of, hey, let's record all of this so people can actually learn from your perspective. So my first question for you is, you talk about starting business with risk instead of tech. Why do you think that's such a game changer for MSPs? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so here's what happens. Roughly 83% of MSPs struggle to sell cybersecurity, and the reason why they're struggling isn't because we're not super smart, cool people who understand the technology. Is that the people that we're selling to, they don't understand what we're talking about. So here's what happens. If you come in and you start talking to a customer and you're like, oh, the flux capacitor and this beep, beep, boop, right? That's all they're hearing when you say two-factor authentication or endpoint protection or all of the different buzzwords that we use. When you say those to your customer, it doesn't really resonate. Also, because they don't know how to think about the problem, they don't know how to think how likely it is to happen. So when customers don't purchase cybersecurity, it's not that they aren't thinking cybercrime is real. It means they just don't know that, they don't think it's likely to happen to them, and if so, they don't even know how to process that. So let me break that down a little bit better. Mm-hmm. By talking about business impact, meaning, hey, if a bad thing happens to your company, this is what it actually will do to your company, they now know how to think about that risk in a way that lets them take action. When you say, here's all of the techie stuff, they don't know how to process that. So that's the whole purpose. If you can flip the script and talk business impact and business risk, as opposed to really cool tech and cyber stuff, you're going to have better success.
So you're just trying to speak their language, pretty much, make it a way that they actually understand.
You got it.
Have you run into that a lot? Like, how did you
100%.
actually get to this point? How did you realize I need to flip the script because it's not working? Do you have any examples?
Yeah, so I was 27 years old. I had just started my company, my first company, and I needed $850,000 for a upgrade. Mm-hmm. So the client is like, hey, you have to make sure that all these systems don't go down. And I'm like, cool, I need you to give me another $850,000 so I can upgrade and patch everything. And they're like, we don't want to do that. We don't want to spend that money. I'm like, okay. Well, at this point, they were a giant holding company that owned a bunch of grocery stores. And they wanted to incorporate cell phones and mobile technology in the grocery stores. And so my stuff was access management. And they were like, well, we want people to be able to log in on their phones. I was like, well, in order for you to be successful with your new marketing initiative and your new technology initiative, I need $850,000 so that people can log in on their phone. So what I learned that instead of saying, I need to upgrade something, well, they don't know what the heck that means. I need to go from Tivoli Access Manager 3.6 to 8.0. That means nothing to them. What does mean something to them is, in order for you to achieve the extra, 150 million in revenue that you expect this project to do, I need $800,000 to make sure our technology supports you.
And did it work?
Absolutely, it worked. So I got my
No
850K. And so that's like the same kind of thing, is when you walk in to a customer, you should be saying things like, what do you want your business to be in the next 5 years? Where are you trying to go? Paint a picture of, in order to reach your goals, you need the right technology. And then you have the conversation, well, now that you've just built all these systems and you've got all this technology, let's spend a little bit of money to make sure that it doesn't break.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
See, I don't think I'm going to be 27 soon. And just the thought about me having to ask somebody for that much money, I don't even know where I would begin. So kudos to you for being able to do that.
You start off doing it wrong, and then you figure it out.
I love that. Okay, and now you just use that now with all your other businesses. You've been able to really take that route, and it's been working.
Well, it's called selling the vacation, not the plane. Oh wait, we're threat captain. So it's selling the vacation and not the boat.
Not
so
the boat.
if you're going to, if you want to take a cruise to this tropical island, and you're going to spend time on this, what I'm not going to do is tell you what the gas mileage of the cruise ship is. What I'm not going to do is tell you about the different decks and all the things. When you describe the technology that is required to produce the ideal outcome, you're missing the whole point. When people buy technology, they're buying increased revenue, reduced expense, increased profit. Revenue minus expenses equals profit. Technology helps reduce expense and increase revenue. So if you're not having a profit conversation as an MSP when you're talking to a customer, then you're selling the ship, you're selling the boat, not the vacation. What you want to be able to do is say, hey, business owner, or hey, IT director, what is your ideal outcome over the next 5 years? Oh, I want to grow my company by this, and I want to hit these new markets and all this stuff. The next question is, great, what has to be true to make that happen? Well, I need to be able to do this, this, and this. Okay, cool. Well, in order to do this, this, and this, you need to have these technologies, these securities, and you need to change how you're doing what you're doing. So it moves you from being somebody who just pushes technology to being somebody who's a business consultant with a technology slant to the whole thing.
So like when you say selling the vacation instead of the boats in our case, where would the risks of doing that business come in? Like, isn't it risk selling the boats? Or do you know what I mean? I'm not sure if I can phrase my question correctly, but...
No, so if I'm selling the vacation and I say, Jessica, you want to go to this amazing... Actually, you're going to go to the Buccaneer in the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. Croix. That's where we're going to do our dive trip. I'm like, Jessica, you got to get there. And you're like, cool, I'm there. I can't wait to go diving with you, Adam. I'm like, I know, be careful. I will fart underwater. Little bubbles will come up. It's going to be fine. I always wonder what a whale would look like if it farted. You know what? Never mind. Let's be refocused. That's a graphic. That's a graphic, by the way.
We'll have ChatGPT make that for us.
That's it. Save the humpback whales.
Yeah.
Whatever. So the idea here is the outcome is the vacation. I want to go to on this adventure. The technology is the boat, and then the risk is anything that could go wrong to stop the boat from functioning.
And do you mention that when you're talking to them?
Right, yeah. So that's why MSPs struggle a little bit selling cybersecurity, because they're really good at saying, hey, in order for this boat to function, in order for your business to function, you need to do all these different things. You need a laptop that works, you need printers that work, you need break fix. So now you can run your business. The part that MSPs struggle with is that customers are like, but I'm already paying you to do technology stuff. No, you paid me to build the systems. And so risk comes into, if you carry this metaphor on, what could stop the boat from working? Well, wouldn't you want to know if there's a reef in front of you?
Absolutely.
So maybe you should probably buy the underwater radar to find the reef and da-da-da-da. So all the security controls and all the security things we're selling are the things that make sure the wonderful solutions you've already put in place continue to operate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I get it now. Okay. I like that. I really like the concept of you sell the vacation and not the plane.
That's
I've
it.
never heard that before. And when I heard it with you a couple weeks ago, I was like, that's a really good analogy. Can't wait to talk about that.
There you go.
Okay. So my second question for you is like, can you personally walk me through what a typical sales rep might say at the start of a call before using Threat Captain and how it changes after?
Ooh.
So like taking everything that we just talked about, what would
Yes.
actually look like practically in a conversation of a sales rep?
I like that. So here's the wrong way. This is what
Okay.
we do
Starting
today.
with the wrong.
Yeah,
Okay.
the wrong way is, hey Jessica, it's so good to have you on the phone. Let me tell you what we do. I'm a managed service provider. I make sure that you have all the technology you need. I make da 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 da, and I keep going. And we call this spilling your candy. So you have this whole thing of candy. These are all the things that you're doing, and the temptation is to immediately vomit on somebody all of your things that you do. And each piece of candy is a product or a service, and you're just throwing them at people. I do two-factor
Little pinata.
authentication. Boom, boom, boom. Exactly. And so the problem is that you love your candy because you know what the heck it is. And so the first thing you do is lead with tech talk or lead with fear and say, Jessica, did you know that if you don't buy my candy, then everything is going to go wrong and the cyber criminals are going to get you? So no one wants to either be sold to, no one wants to be scared, and nobody wants to be talked at or
Well,
down
you're selling
to.
with fear.
Yeah.
that way.
So that's the wrong way, right? I'm going to scare you so you'll listen to me talk about my products. The right way is to say, hey, Jessica, hey, I don't know if you need cybersecurity because I don't know enough about what your business does. Why don't we take some time to find out how bad a breach could be, whether or not you're insured in the right kind of way, and then let's do a gap analysis to see if it's even worth spending cash on, and if so, let's make sure you only spend what you need to keep the business doing what it should be doing.
So it's kind of like you're picking the best candy that's fit for them according
That's
to
right.
their diet and their restrictions. That's what it seems like.
That's right. So I'll put this in a different way. Let's say you're at the gym and you're working out, and some dude bro walks up. It's like, bro, dude,
Dude.
Jess, come on now. My name's Chad. You're doing your deadlifts wrong. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that was unsolicited consulting. That's unsolicited advice. You're like, you don't know what I'm trying to do in the gym. You don't know what I'm trying to accomplish. You don't know what my health journey is all about. So why in the world are you giving me advice? When you roll in to a customer and you lead with telling them what they should do right out of the gate before you understand what the purpose of their business is, it's disrespectful, it's not polite, da 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 da. The reason why MSPs can get away with it, though, and this is important, is because we're mostly a referral-based business. So I can jump right into problem solving if the person who I'm talking to was referred to me by a friend. So let's talk about it this way. Let's say that Claudia, your buddy, says, you're like Jessica says to Claudia, hey, I need a new MSP. I need a new technology partner. And she's like, Jess, you got to go talk to Adam. Now all of a sudden it's completely different. I can talk about my candy a little bit. I can have this kind of relationship because you already
Right.
know what's supposed to be.
The
You're already
introduction
prepped
was
up.
made, or yeah.
Exactly. You still shouldn't. You should still actually ask questions. But you can get away with not having effective sales. And also what mostly happens is that most MSPs have really charismatic business owners who are able to kind of flub their way through. They really struggle, though, when you try to teach other salespeople or customer success people to have these kind of conversations without that owner involved. So sales enablement is all about but improving on how do you go about sales, equipping people so they have what they need to get the sales done the right kind of way, and then authentically showing up to help your customer. And if it's not a fit, then you run away. The problem that we often have is that, especially when you're starting a company or you're getting out of the gate, you say yes to everybody, and they may not be the right customer. And if you can't actually help them the way that you want to help them, you're going to end up wasting time and money.
Wow, I like that. So in short, when you train your BDRs, I'm not sure who you guys have during the sales calls, what is the one thing that you guys teach them? Like how should they approach, how should they pick up a phone and call an MSP? Or is that not the strategy you guys use?
Well, so we don't pick up the phone and call, but when we are having conversations, I hate this saying, but I'm going to do it anyway. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening twice as much as you talk. Now, that's not good enough. The real answer is you have to spend 3 times longer in discovery than you are in doing anything else. So what we typically do is the first call that you would have with threat captain, it's just to discover if we're a fit. I don't talk.
Okay.
You know, it's basically, we use Sandler sales methodologies, so we're going to be doing the upfront contract bonding report, all the different things to get to the point where we're actually doing consultative engagement.
Okay.
So that, yeah, if I was going to say the number one thing you can do right now to increase your effectiveness at sales as an MSP, it would do slow down and spend another 30 minutes asking business-related questions and collecting business information far more than what's your tech stack or what are you trying to do, da-da-da-da-da.
I like that. I like the 3 times longer discovery. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah,
So it takes longer to close a deal for you guys, I assume, then?
Nope, because you did upfront work. So that means that, so picture this. I'll say no, or you'll say no right out of the gate. So I don't waste time. You don't waste time. But because I know everything now, I absolutely know if we're a good fit. And now I also, by the way, part of discovery is you talk about price. You know, I get it right out of the gate. Are you going to be a fit or not? So I get you out of my pipeline. And when it comes time for a proposal and a close, you've already sold yourself because of how I did discovery. So it is a shorter sales cycle because, so I'll flip it on its head. What we do now is we scare the crap out of them, we get a meeting, they move forward, and then the IT director of the company that the MSP is selling to turns around and tries to go get budget from the CFO. And what happens is the IT director has no idea how to justify the cost, and we didn't equip that person. So weeks go by, and the MSP is confused. They're like, I had such a good conversation with him. We should have, wow, he was my boy. And now we're calling each other, and slowly the IT director of the customer is feeling shame because they made promises, and now they can't follow through with them. And so you get to the point where they're asking for money real quick because 2 nerds agree with each other. That actually is a much longer sales cycle than if you take longer to do discovery. And while the MSP is talking to the IT director, they say, we really probably should be talking to your COO and your CFO so that we can hear how they think about risk and how they... Yeah. So when you do a in-depth discovery, it requires you to talk to more people than just the IT director. Because the IT director won't have all of the data. So if we do a financial impact analysis, it's natural to go talk to the CFO. So you give yourself an excuse to go and get access to actual decision makers at the beginning, and then you say to the CFO, hey, we can solve a lot of these problems. Which ones would you like us to work on first? And they then set the actual path for it, right? So it's no longer a push, but it's a pull.
You're talking to the right people at the right time, too.
Mm-hmm. So that means that this giant 3 to 8 week dark area in the end of the sales cycle disappears. And so yes, you might spend longer in discovery, you might spend longer doing the the proposal, but it's exactly what they want, and so you have a rapid adoption and money flows quicker.
Interesting. You're a smart man. See, I knew you were smart. I love it. Okay, and then quickly, we didn't really go over the steps and the methodology, which I think we will go over in future podcasts.
Sure.
But I remember the first one was raise the flag. So when you say raise the flag, what exactly are we raising, and what's the flag for? I just don't understand the analogy very well.
All right, so, and maybe we need a better metaphor, but dang it, I like boats, so we're going to keep going with it.
Okay.
So when 2 ships are at sea, like you see the one behind me, he's got a flag over here, right?
Yes, yeah.
The flag is the thing that sends context to each other. So you'll have a whole bunch of different flags. One's like, keep away, there's plague on board, or hey, I'm with Portugal, or da-da-da-da-da, right? So whatever flags you have up, sends the note out to, sends a message to other ships, because that's the only way they can communicate, is by raising and lowering flags. What you have to do as part of your initial, as the raise a flag stage, is not you raising your flags. You need to invite the customer to communicate better with you. And that's all about raising their flag. You are like, hey, you need to let me know certain things, so I'm going to spend time asking you questions. We're going to sit here and get to know each other. And what most people do, as opposed to asking them to, do the discovery part where you're setting the context. For example, if I run in here and I start asking you a bunch of questions with no context whatsoever, you're like, who's this guy and why are we talking? Right? But if at the beginning I say, hey, look, we're going to spend some time together. I'm going to find out what you're trying to accomplish. You're going to find out what I'm trying to accomplish, and we're going to see if there's a fit for each other. And if it's not, it's okay, and we can go our separate ways. But why don't we have open on conversation right out of the gate and find out if there's a business reason for us to have a business relationship together. And when you lead with that, it gives them permission to say yes, it gives them permission to say no, it gives them, but at least you've got the context for the conversation. So in Sandler, that's called having an upfront contract. The reason I call it raising the flag is because it's not every engagement is a sales call. You need to do this at the networking event if you're standing at the bar. So this is all about lead generation and qualifying leads. I don't want to have any time with a customer who's not a fit for me. I only want to talk to people who believe what I believe. And so if I lead a conversation and say, hey, so I'm an MSP, and I go in, hey, I think that a core part of companies being successful is their technology, and that if we do this the right way, your business can really thrive and do great. And if you come back and say, nah, I'm fine, then it's an uphill battle.
Waste your time. Yeah.
Exactly it. So raising the flag is all about qualifying the lead by being open and honest, and inviting them to be open and honest back to you.
I like that. I feel like I can apply that to my personal life, not just business.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. You should always surround yourself with toxic people. Make sure that they gaslight as much as possible.
I love it. Red flags. See,
red flag. Raise the flag. There you go.
Raise the red flag. There you go. I love it. That's so interesting. Yeah, because when I read it, it took me a few to really understand what you were talking about, but this makes perfect sense. So raise a flag was your definition that you gave for it. That was like a nautical theme with boats.
That's right. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling from Sandler Sales, I'm pulling from Challenger, I'm pulling from a lot of different selling systems and marketing systems, and I've tried to simplify the methodology so that our platform that we've built can align with the stages. And so the first stage is qualify the lead. You're talking to somebody, I don't know if you've ever been to a networking event where there's some guy who's got like business cards and he just hands them out to everyone.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Right? It's like, hi, here's my card. Call me.
And they just throw them everywhere.
They throw them everywhere.
Purse. Yeah.
That's right. And so, and you take it and you're like, cool. And then you put it down or whatever, right? So, the difference between qualifying a lead and just throwing a card at somebody is to say, hey, Jessica, it's great to meet you at this networking event. We typically work with companies who are in growth mode, who are doing a little over $5 million in revenue in the manufacturing space. Does that sound like you, or do you know anyone like that? As a matter of fact, so I took my son to Washington, D.C. He's 14, and I took him to the Capital event. And so I made him network with me, right? And he's like, Dad, why are you drinking so much coffee? I'm like, okay. It's like, because, buddy, the coffee station is where people break out of the pack of the folks that they hang out with. They go to the coffee station, they get a cup of coffee. If you're sitting next to them, you're like, oh, hey, I see you got the decaf. How's that go? Oh, ha, 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 ching, blah, blah. And then you talk a little bit, you have a little witty banter, and then you lead with, hey, how do I help you? What are you looking for? And then they tell you. And you say, oh, that's great. By the way, this is what I'm looking for. Manufacturers, 5 million revenue, growth mode. You wouldn't happen to know anyone, would you? Oh my gosh, that's me. I'm one of those people. I haven't decided we're going to cuss on this. Yeah. But so that's what I mean. Raising the flag is about the qualification of the customer by setting the right kind of context so that you have really, really effective conversations and you know whether to get out or to dig in deeper.
I love that. That's so interesting. I think you described it perfectly. I like the whole raise the flag context.
Good.
Love it. Love it. Well, I
feel
get
very
it now.
smart. I feel very smart.
You should be. You should be proud.
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to go into a few psychological questions that I was interested to hear your perspective on. Kind of wanted to see, you know, your little sales mind, how you would answer these. So my first one is, why do you think so many salespeople default to talking about features and tools? Do you think it's fear? Do you think it's habit? Why do you think it is? Or do they just not know how to properly be salespeople?
So it's part of it is a training problem.
Okay.
If I was to say, Jess, you have to come and sell my product, the first thing you would want to know is everything about my product.
Right.
Well, you don't need to know about my product. What you need to know is about the customer's pain. So instead of becoming an expert in your product, now I would like you to have a basic understanding of what I've got.
Absolutely.
But there's this bell curve where you know nothing about the product. And I'll give you a story here. Once upon a time, a nice young man got hired at a grocery store, and he's out there, you know, stocking shelves, and a nice lady walks up and says, "Excuse me, young man, I need to buy some ceiling fans or some oscillating fans." I guess it's not a grocery store. I'll say it's a Home Depot. Whatever. Don't ruin my story. Don't ruin my story with facts. So he's like, so he's very helpful, but he doesn't know anything about ceiling fans, right? He's just cleaning the aisles, but he's helpful. So he said, well, let me go and find the ceiling fans for you. So he goes over and finds the ceiling fans, and there's all of these ceiling fans he can choose from. And he's like, well, what do you want the fan to do? Well, I needed to be in my son's bedroom, and I'd love to have a light. Well, I was like, well, these don't have lights, so we'll get rid of these. And so he knows nothing about ceiling fans, but because he's comfortable asking questions and saying, what does the customer need? At the end of the day, she felt heard, she didn't feel rushed, they were in together. And that guy was comfortable saying, I don't know, let's go look.
Like, let's figure it out together,
Most people hate that. Now check this out. Most of us nerds in the IT industry have been rewarded for our entire life by having the right answer. So, did you get a 4.0? Did you get a good grade on that test? Oh, the computer's down. Can you fix it? So we have been hammered for our entire life that by having the right answer and being the smartest person in the room is the way you get psychologically fulfilled. It's subconscious. It's not the right answer. So when nerds show up to sell, the best thing I can do for you, Jess, is to already have the right answers. So let me tell you the right answers before I even asked you a question. So here's what happens is, let's take that same guy, and he goes and learns about those ceiling fans, and he's an expert on every ceiling fan. And so now the nice lady comes up and says, I need a ceiling fan. Before he's asked a single question, he starts talking about voltage, about the different kind of light bulbs, and explaining all the different options, and just absolutely overwhelms the nice lady. So much information. We have 120 ceiling fans, and boom, 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 boom. And what happens is when you lead with all the tech, you shut them down emotionally and mentally. They're like, I don't even want to deal with this. I hate ceiling fans now.
That's interesting.
So what you have to do is, almost all of us are at the top of this curve. So you have no knowledge, then you have maximum knowledge, and then you have to act like you have no knowledge again. You need to have all those information inside of your soul about how all these ceiling fans work, but you need to act like you don't. You have to have the questions like, why do you need a ceiling fan? What's your requirements? Boom, 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 boom. And so that's the whole reason why I feel like leading with fear and leading with data and leading with facts. Like, most MSPs lead with a risk assessment when they try to do cybersecurity. No. That's third step. First step is business impact analysis. What actually is the problem in the business we're trying to solve? Financial impact analysis. If we don't solve those problems, what is it actually going to cost you? All right, well, what possibly can go wrong? Okay, risk analysis. And after you do all three of those steps, you've done a really, really good discovery process where the lady can finally figure out exactly what kind of ceiling fan she needs.
She doesn't feel overwhelmed by all the technicalities of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a personal example in Threat Captain where this has happened? either for good or bad, where you approach somebody like the lady looking for a ceiling fan, and either it went wrong. Do you have either a good or bad example where you were too technical and you lost them, or you were at the perfect level and you won them?
So I'll talk about how we sell Threat Captain and how we've been doing it. Usually, so here's what happens as a vendor who calls an MSP. The first thing the MSP says is, show me a demo. Show me a demo how it works. And so we said, okay, that must mean they're really interested. So the first thing we do is we show them a demo. And ironically, we're not actually doing the things we're training the MSPs to do. So we're guilty. So this is hard work, right? So rather than slowing down and saying da 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 da, and what ends up happening is when we threw the demo at people, depending on who that person was, they got different information out of the demo. So if you were a vCISO, then you would see what Threat Captain was, and you would think of it as a risk assessment tool. If you were a VC of not VC, if you were the chief revenue officer and you saw Threat Captain, you could think about how it sells. So by leading with the tech and leading with our demo and leading with the, hey, don't you think our stuff is cool? We were depending on the customer to have an aha moment by seeing how cool our stuff was and then jumping to a conclusion that they needed it.
Interesting.
So we did that for a while, and then we realized we need to eat our own dog food and slow this thing down. And so now when you work with Threat Captain, the first 30-minute call is just us asking you, what are you trying to do with your MSP and where are you taking it? What problems are you currently having? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's the right answer, is the human brain is absolutely insane. And you cannot predict how somebody is going to react or what they're going to see. Matter of fact, I don't know if you've heard of the statistics, like the least reliable source of evidence is eyewitness testimony. You can have 10 people walk by a sign and they will tell you 10 different things of what that sign said. They might get the words right, but they'll probably get colors different, or they'll get there's going to be something wrong with it. So if you're just depending on showing somebody a demo or telling them a story and talking at them, and their brain is going to not be doing what you think it's going to be doing.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
Oh gosh, a long time.
Mostly
marriage, by the way, because you think really, I mean, when you have an interaction with somebody and you're like, hey, honey, and she's like, I told you to take the garbage out. No, you said take the garbage out. So I'm going to take it out. No, I meant now. Well, you didn't say now, right? So the human interaction, and sales is nothing more than human interaction. It's having a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So having the right kind of conversational skills to make sure, hey, what I think I heard you say was da-da-da-da-da. And we can get into all kinds of different sales techniques later, but the idea of setting the context correctly right out of the gate means that you're actually getting clarification and you're setting clarity on what we're about to do here.
I mean, I love the approach of asking questions. I think that's just basic human etiquette. It's like, ask questions. People don't want to hop on a call and just be talked at. It's the best way to connect out. Yeah.
Well, unless you're listening to a podcast, then just,
unless you're listening to a podcast.
That's right.
Then you have no choice.
That's it. Yeah. Why don't you sit back down, buddy? Get your coffee. Let's go. Let's tune back in.
Exactly.
And how dare you be listening to this on times 2 speed? You know how long we really worked hard on this. That was rude.
I wonder how many people will do that with this podcast. I hope not.
That's right.
It's been pretty interesting.
Yeah.
No, but I love that. I love the approach of asking questions. The most memorable people I know are the people who were actually interested, took an interest in me and my hobbies and my likes, and asked me. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to hear you talk about yourself the whole time, and so I think it applies to sales, I guess. I'm not a
it really
salesperson,
does,
but it does.
So another lesson I taught my 14-year-old is like, when you walk up to a group of people and you're trying to network, your body language matters. So if your feet are spread wide and you're turned and they're talking to you at your shoulder, it's like you look at the person, stare at the bridge of their nose so it looks like you're looking at their eyes, square up, good body language, and smile. It's like all you have to do. People want to feel like you are paying attention to them. And when you go in and start telling them all the things that are wrong with them, that's the wrong kind of attention.
Wow, I like that. We should do another podcast where you just tell us like life lessons of a father to his 14-year-old son, and how that applies to sales.
Yeah, it'll work.
I like it. Yeah. Well, one more question for you. Well, two more questions actually. So one that I thought was interesting, I said, I've heard you say that language creates permission from another conversation that we had. What does that mean in a sales call?
Ooh, language creates permission. Most of the time, we are operating on unspoken expectations for each other, right?
Okay.
So you're looking at me and you have unspoken expectations, like, hey, Adam, you should say smart things. Hey, Adam, you should do, and they're unspoken. 9 times out of 10, human conflict comes because I betrayed one of your expectations that you have set for me, and then you didn't do.
Interesting.
So language creates permission means I get my unspoken expectations out into the open. I said, Jess, we're going to be here today. We're gonna have some context. It's going to be great. But by the way, it's okay if this, and this. You have to give people permission to say no. You have to give them permission to clarify stuff. If I haven't said something or it's a bit confusing, please ask questions. You have to lead with setting the stage on how a conversation is going to happen. Recognize the fact that there are unspoken expectations that everybody has for each other. Call those things out. Hey, I'm going to ask for some money and you're going to have to talk about your budget. So why don't we just make sure that we know that we're doing a business conversation and you have permission to tell me what your actual budget really is, and I'll actually tell you what I charge. And if there's a mismatch, that's okay. But why would we waste another 3 weeks going back and forth on this thing when if you don't have budget, that's okay. And by the way, if you don't have budget, what's your process for doing budget? We'll see if I can go ahead and help you with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're creating like a safe place for them to talk about those things.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, I like
well,
that.
there's
So that's
so
what you
many
mean by that.
things. Yeah, there's a lot of things in a sales call we don't want to talk about. You have to create permission for those things to happen. And one of my favorite things is to be a bad salesperson. So
To be a bad salesperson?
yep, I say,
Let's
hey,
explain.
hi, Jessica, I am not a great salesperson. There's a lot of things I don't do. I don't follow up real well. I don't, I'm always nervous to talk about money. I sit here and I really like to please people and I have so much fun. I sometimes forget to get to the point. So why don't we get all that out of the way? So my price point is $1,500 a month for this service. Why don't we figure out, let's not make me follow up a lot. Let's only have one more conversation. If it's a yes, we'll move on to budgeting. If it's a no, then we'll just be done. And then finally, I love to hang out and talk. So why don't I just be done here and let's just talk about you.
I like that.
So I'm a
How
bad
does that usually
salesperson.
turn out?
Oh, it's fantastic.
It just gets all the awkwardness away, all the topics that they don't want to
Just rip the
discuss
Band-Aid
all
off.
the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do that
ha-
during your discovery calls, right? During the long discovery calls.
You
start
set-
off with that.
That's right. First you raise the flag, then as you begin to get the discovery out of the way, you know, if you, nothing ever goes as planned, right? And so I don't ever say sales is a methodology that is just step 1, step 2, and you just follow line. So you're going to jump all over the place. But sales is about human interaction, so why not just be honest with somebody? And by the way, if you love talking about budgets, say, by the way, I love talking about budgets. Let's do that first, you know?
I love that. That's so interesting. Yeah, I was really going to ask you about that because I had no idea what you meant by that. So that helps.
Sounds smart.
I know, it does. Because I don't know, it sounds something that my therapist would say or something. Like, it sounds something that I would apply to
I feel
everyday
seen.
relationships.
I feel seen.
Exactly. I like that, though. And then my last question for you. How do business leaders typically react when a sales call starts with risk instead of solutions?
Oh, so
We
here's
kind
the
of
problem.
talked about that a little bit, but...
We're going to talk some brain science. So there is a something in your brain called the amygdala. Amygdala. I don't know. I can't pronounce it either. But here's the thing. It's the drug dealer of the brain. If it feels bad or is just scared, it dumps a chemical called cortisol.
Okay.
If it feels
Okay, so-
happy and wonderful, then you get dopamine and serotonin. It's great. So when you have cortisol going through your body, it puts you in fight, flight, or freeze. And it locks down your ability to have access to the frontal cortex. So because I cannot be distracted. If I think a saber-toothed tiger is about to jump and chomp on my head, I don't want to be distracted by thinking, how beautiful the fur. Oh my, right? You just, all these higher end creativity thoughts get locked down because you are now in fight or flight or freeze. So when you lead with risk and you start saying, cybercrime's scary, we're going to get you. Woo! Now, the thing that's bad about that is now the customer is now dumping cortisol. They already don't want to be there because no one wants to talk about cybercrime. They're just sitting there and they're afraid. So the thing you want to do is remove the fear to give them access to better parts of their brain. So when you say, hey, I know this stuff is pretty complicated. Why don't, instead of us talking about cyber and technology, why don't we start with something that you are an expert in and you tell me about your business? The cortisol stops going, the dopamine starts flowing, and it takes roughly 20 minutes for a cortisol dump into your system to begin to dissipate. So you need to have about 20 minutes of bonding and rapport and letting them talk about themselves. And I'm not saying you can't talk business. I'm saying you have to do it from the perspective of their source of strength, not your source of strength.
Wow.
That's what I mean by that.
I love that. I really like that. I like brain facts, and so anytime you want to dump them on us, I'm all for that.
Oh yeah, I have a whole talk on psychological warfare and how do you
Really?
use. Oh yeah. So one
I'm
of the.
interested to hear that.
So I have a book I wrote that no one read, which is fine, and I mapped.
We can drop the link on this podcast.
So
10% discount.
Well, the whole idea is I took the OSI stack model of how computers work from the network layer to the application layer, and I said, well, map that to the human brain. And because what I was curious about is what kind of hacks and attacks on a computer network would be effective on the human brain and how we would go about doing all that. And so it was really a one-to-one. If the brain is a computer and the nervous system is the network, what can I do to socially manipulate somebody? Now, I'm not creepy. We owned by the way, if someone has to say I'm not creepy, yeah, maybe
That is a bad sign.
You have to remember, my last company was Hook Security, as a security awareness training company. So I was scanning people's brains. I was seeing how the human brain worked while we were trying to build resiliency against manipulation, which meant I have to know how to manipulate. So it turns out a lot of these things are just human interactions. So because we're tribal creatures, the only way that you and I are going to survive in the jungle is if we, by default, are programmed to help each other. If I see you need help, I'm going to show up. And so you want to play into the thing where you're not the risk, you're part of the tribe. And so if you come in talking about products and services and buy, I hate buying cars. I walk into that dealership, I feel horrible. I know these guys are going to push and they're going to try to get me to sign the thing, and I'm going to get the stupid financing. I just hate the whole thing. I hate it. So let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's treat them like people. Have good conversations, and you have to realize, as a salesperson, you're fighting an uphill battle. Most people feel like it's okay to lie to salespeople. Second-class citizen. No one wants to be sold to.
Yeah.
No one wants to be attacked, and so they'll lie to a salesperson. So until you get to that bonding and rapport stage where they look at you as a person and as a the cortisol goes away and now you have dopamine, you're going to have questionable success with sales, which is why it's so important to set context up front.
I love that. I like the point that everybody lies to a salesperson. I think even just when they call me and I'm like, I'm in an emergency right now and I'm just sitting down watching TV.
I just tell them I have to poop.
That's one way to say it.
That's
They're
right.
like, I'll wait for you. It's okay.
No, I got some shit going on.
That's funny. I'm going to use that.
Don't. I think it's funnier when... Actually, it might be funnier when you say it. I think you should use that. Use it 3 times today and tell me how it goes.
I will. I'll make sure to let you know. We'll let you guys know too. But, well, Adam, these are great questions. It's really interesting to pick your brain, and I think you're an interesting man. You're full of wisdom. From the moment I met you, I was like, this guy is really interesting, and I want to hear more what he has to say. You should definitely drop that book in the comments. Let us know what it's called, where we can find it, because I definitely want to read it.
Yeah, so I've got like 13 books no one has read. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, have you published them, or you just wrote them and put them in your shelf?
No. They're all out on Amazon, so you can just go buy the stuff. But yeah, so that's the thing though. It's I'm actually writing a book right now that is about sales enablement, because I realize there is no source out there for MSPs to get to the skill up. right? So if you don't do sales enablement and you're in a managed service provider and you're the owner, first thing I'm going to do when I buy your company is I'm going to reduce the valuation. I'm going to reduce what I pay you because I'm buying a job because you're the salesperson. I now have to be the salesperson. So until owners can get out of the way of sales, doesn't mean they don't not participate, but they better be able to enable other people to be successful in it. The actual value of their company is lower. So if my goal is to help managed service providers sell more cybersecurity so the world's a better place, and I want them to get super wealthy so they'll invest in more cybersecurity companies, I have a vested interest in helping these people exit for the maximum value possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
well, thanks
awesome.
for hanging out with me.
Yeah, no, thank you for answering all my technical questions and explaining them in a way that I understand, and a lot of these people will understand too. So I think it's important to hear in a different perspective too, asking questions that aren't so technical.
Well, I'm happy to share. Thanks for creating a safe stage and a cool stage. So
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to next episodes. So we'll get to talk about all fun sales stuff.
Yay, salespeople. By the way, if you want to be interviewed, I really want to talk to MSPs who are selling. And I want to hear horror stories and be like, oh my gosh, I called this lady and she was so mean to me, right? Those are the kind of things, because guess what? This is a super hard profession. The fact that they don't even teach sales in an MBA program means that it just does not get the respect it deserves. This is a hard profession, and the Crow's Nest is a safe place and a cool place for salespeople to hang out. So let's go do that thing. All right, Jessica.
I love it.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for your time, Adam. Bye. Bye, guys.